Today I will be going over how I went from this to this. Now this isn't exactly a traditional step-by-step tutorial. Instead, I will be going over the process it took me to get from concept design to animatic to final deliverable using AI, After Effects, and Cinema 4D. I hope by going over my steps you get a better insight on how professional projects get done and delivered. Alright, let's get started. Cool, so this is the beginning of the Daiwa project recap from concept to animation. So let's start with part 1. Concept. Ideas, explorations, and AI. So the client is Daiwa. Daiwa Capital Markets is an international investment banking firm, and it offers financial services to corporate and institutional clients. And they're opening up new offices here in Manhattan. The client reached out to the agency I worked for in order to get some concept and animation designs for their large, super wide screen at their reception area. So the direction given at the beginning of the project was to integrate New York City, Tokyo, and London skylines to represent the different location the company lives in. Okay, so this is what we have so far. The screen is double HD wide, and they want these skylines in there. Whether it's 2D or 3D, they're totally open-minded with whatever direction we go, as long as it's simple and on brand. Cool, so the next slide here, I have designs I came up with using TurboSquid models, Shutterstock images, and AI. I decided to kind of unify the looks with the yellow band, kind of like a ribbon that goes across. The models again are I got free stuff from TurboSquid. I have some models from my library that I've implemented here and just created stills. So the point of this step is to kind of land a look for the client in order for them to approve for you to move on to storyboarding. So in the next slide, you can see that these images right here were not entirely done 3D done in Cinema 4D. I used Bing's Copilot AI to generate some of these building assets just so I could get a look across. In the final deliverable, I have to make them from scratch, but again, I'm just trying to get these approved. Down here below, I have this New York City skyline I created using Bing's AI, and I have some Shutterstock images here on the side. This is for the 2D look. Cool, so next I did alternate versions with their blue color instead of just plain white. Again, having the ribbon kind of unify the look. And then after they looked at these, they said they want something similar to this 3D skyline right here, but with all the skylines all in one frame as opposed to divided into 3 frames like I have here in the center. So what I did was I got images from the internet of Tokyo skyline and London and New York City, and I used one of these 3D renders as a reference for Adobe Firefly to create a sort of 3D plane look of these skylines, and I photoshopped them together here to make it one cohesive image. Again, I have the ribbon here to unify the looks. Alright, so while they're looking at that, we decided to create an alternate design. So the direction they also mentioned was like they wanted to maybe do a soji look. Soji is like these paper walls that they use in Japan, and the company is Japanese based, so it just makes sense for their for the look that they're going for. So what I did was I looked at a couple images I just went to Google Images and I Googled Soji paper wall and saw the different designs, and then I went to Cinema 4D and made my own Soji dividers. Not traditionally just like uniform like this. I did have a uniform one here, but I also tried different size Soji panels. And I took these panels and 3D render and threw them in After Effects and created this sort of the smorgasbord of frames of their logo kind of cut out, some images in New York City, some text here about like what they do, their phone number and address and time here. I have here different colors. I went with the blue frames and the yellow frames from the logo, and then I went to straight grayscale metal frames. So cool. They looking at that, they was like, "Oh, that's cool." Then they came back. So now they chose a 2D design and a 3D design, and they asked for storyboards for both, so then they could take a look and have a better idea of what we're imagining for the movement. They liked the Solji designs. That part of the project was handed off to another artist, so I could focus more on the 2D and 3D designs that they chose. So the goal here is to have it simple, nothing overworked, nothing too over the top, just a simple camera pans, slide-ins, maybe wipes. So for the 2D look, I had this kind of scale in, sort of as the skyline scales in to screen. There's a yellow wipe that comes in and wipes in and moves in the other two skylines from the right. And I have the ribbon here kind of unifying all the looks. So that's the 2D one. And then for the 3D one, I used a mixture of Turbo Squid models and the Adobe Firefly composite that I did here. So I have a flyby over the skylines, over the cities, and then as the camera pans down to the river, it creates a ripple effect, and the ripple kind of transitions to the camera pans and transitions to the skyline where all the landmarks are here with the reflective water at the bottom. I added the reflective water at the bottom. I know the original design didn't have that. I just thought it added to the look of it, and it looks clean. So the client picked this 3D version. So now we're doing the animatic. Animate the winner, yay! So along with choosing which design to move forward with, they also included a note to include San Francisco, North Carolina, West Palm Beach, Tokyo, London, Hong Kong, and Singapore. So I'm like, okay, how is this going to work? I mean, I'm going to have to really, really dig for assets especially for landmarks of West Palm Beach. Like you don't really think of anything but beach when you think of West Palm Beach, or maybe North Carolina, and then also fitting them all in one screen. But that's just the challenge that we were given, and we didn't say no just yet. We wanted to take a crack at it and see if we could get it done. So so we moved to animatic. So to create this flyby of the cities, we just screen grabbed Google Maps, used Turbo Squid models again, and we did an animatic for each frame. Just animated the camera just so we know the timing and how long our renders per shot have to be, so that way we don't render too many frames or render not as many frames as we need. So everything has to be perfect and timed, so then everything is on budget. So the animatic really helped with that. Now I'll play the animatic here. So an idea we had with the landmarks was we were thinking about having the centerpiece be New York City, and then on the sides maybe it rotates, kind of like a those tables that rotate those plates of food, kind of like that. It rotates different landmarks into the foreground, and then as it's rotating, it puts the foreground landmark to the back, and then the one in the back to the front. That was a little difficult, especially to build, because it just wasn't clean, and it didn't look right when we built it. So I had this idea of having let's just do the original idea of having all the landmarks here just settle and resolve out once the animation ends, so that way there's no like messy rotating, or like even the bridge. Like if I rotate this thing and the bridge is swooping across, it's just not good. So I photoshopped some images together just so I could get the look approved. And in the end, once it was approved, we went to TurboSquid and purchased all these landmark models, FBXs and OBJs, to implement into our 3D scene. So this was our composite with the 3D models, and here are some notes. There was too much empty space here at the top, and then to myself, the water is just too boring. It's just like a plain reflective ground. It's boring. And then the other note was that they wanted to move forward with their official animation. Cool. So we apply these notes and we move forward. So what we used to animate the flyby was Google Earth Studio. Google Earth Studio allowed us to animate the flyby without purchasing expensive 3D cities from TurboSquid. So TurboSquid cities are expensive, like hundreds of dollars. Instead, we use Google Earth Studio, which is a free animation software that's web-based, and you could keyframe your cameras, you could zoom in, you could rotate, you could keyframe all that, and it renders out all for free. And you get maps from all over the world, and 3D models all over the world, and it's great. So we use that to do the initial flyby, which is to do this flyby. So next, I need to get some clouds. So what I did was I went to unsplash.com and got some stock images of clouds and extracted the whites and made them as PNGs. And as you can see here, I have the PNGs here. I also have a bird that I pre-rendered flying. I wanted to add a bird flying in the sky only because it just adds to the I think it adds to the interest to the flyby. Otherwise, it's a little dull. It makes it more interesting. Anyway, so I had a bird. I have some clouds here. I scattered the clouds, and then I have the camera follow the bird. And yeah, so we did the animation. I comped it all together, and that's how we ended up with this final look. I hope I didn't go too fast. That's just the steps I took to create this piece, and it's similar to a lot of projects. If you like this type of content, I could make more for more projects I do. I think it's really important to see how conceptualization and animatics are important. Some people just go straight to the final animation and they waste time, or like a client asks for a major change and it's like, oh man, I just made this whole thing and now I have to change it. Well, you didn't approve the look, you didn't approve the animatic, you didn't approve the design. And even though this project isn't groundbreaking, the client is happy. Everything was clean and perfect. And yeah, that's it. That's how we came up with this Daiwa animation. Yeah. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you liked my video, and that you, again, like and subscribe if you want to see more. Toodles.